I assume, because we'd had conversations before the legislative redistricting came up. We had had contact from the Speaker of the House and leadership in the House. Since it had been more than 20 years since the courts had been redistricted, did we not need to do that? And the court agreed. We did, and we sent a proposal up that actually ended up passing both houses.
Yeah, they signed off on that.
Without opposition, yes. And so it was incorporated into the bills that became a part of the total legislative redistricting plan and the congressional redistricting plans. But because of provisions in the law, when the legislative redistricting plan was rejected, then the bill had a provision in it that caused it to fail.
And one of the things that you said in your all's ruling was essentially some of these legislative districts were over the 5% threshold, and the one man, one vote provision should take precedence, essentially. Should that apply to the judicial districts? Because you've got one, the Jefferson County one has traditionally stayed in Jefferson County, which is way more populous than most of the other districts. Have you all opened yourself up to now breaking that up?
Well, I think that is a logical part of the conversation. The only law that we have on this issue is probably 30 plus, maybe more than 30 years old. In a case that was ruled on by the court in the early 70s, which essentially says that the one person, one vote rule that is the law for legislative representation is different in judicial representation or judicial districting, in that judicial districts or judges are not elected as representatives necessarily. They have form a different function in government. And so there's been a distinction made historically.
Do you agree with that distinction?
Well, I don't know how to comment on that, since you've suggested there may be a case coming up on that. Maybe I ought not to comment on your show about how that ought to be decided.
Darn.
But I do understand. That question was asked of me by Representative Graham during the legislative hearings on this, and so I know it's on the minds of the legislators.
So moving forward, obviously, as we've talked about, the judicial redistricting got thrown out with the legislative redistricting plans. Do you expect any kind of, maybe not purposely reprisal, but do you expect maybe that you might be placed in a different district, for instance, because of legislators' unhappiness that their plans were tossed out this year?
Well, you and I would hope there wouldn't be such thing as reprisal for rulings that the court is compelled to make, because that's the job that we've been given to do. So I wouldn't expect there to be reprisal, but the law allows the General Assembly to draw the lines, and it's up to them. It is dedicated to them as a political process to draw those lines, and so I expect that they will. I appreciate the fact that they ask us for consultation the last time. Every time it's been done before, they have consulted with the members of the court.